Next on Investigative Report. Dying to get well. One of the last places you want to end up needing critical care in America is the front door of an emergency room. The modern-day emergency room concept is an invention of the 1960s, but has not kept pace with its fast-paced web browsing society. Just because a patient can get in the front door of an initial triage assessment by an emergency room physician does not mean that they will be treated as an emergency. The average emergency room patient can expect a lobby room holding pattern for upwards of 4 hours, simply awaiting a bed for service. And for those who are lucky to get a bed in the vast network of emergency room patient stacking procedures, does not mean they will be treated. Hospitals in America have traded out their doctor-to-patient contact for patient-to-nurse interactions on the path to pharmaceuticals to mass surgery relieving pain. If the patient makes it beyond the emergency room weight stacking procedures, they may be lucky to be admitted into the hospital's financially designed complex of patient warehousing. The average warehousing cost for a hospital stay is around $3,000 a day without additional services. This leaves most Americans priced out of a broken healthcare system. Surgery for most is either delayed or put off for more critical needs involving the family unit. But what of those critical patients who make it to the surgery waiting list and have the insurance means to proceed with the operation? Even for this category of patients, some critical surgeries are delayed due to holding patterns of available operating physicians. This is the story of my wife of 35 years, who entered the emergency room for critical care to save her life on the 8th of June 2022, and at the recording of this investigative report, is still awaiting that surgery on the 24th of June 2022. This is the story of many Americans who are languishing in hospitals for critical care stretched out far too long. This is the story of people who are dying to get well.
All doctors to the ER. All nurses to the nurses station.
In this episode of Investigative Report, we are going to focus on some of the common concerns of people who are supportive family members of the patients as well as their concerns. We are the people who want to just scream out at doctors at times and ask, why are you letting my family member languish in this bed? Are you waiting for them to die? What's up? Now, we hear the complaints at Investigative Report of the patients we visit, and the nurses either don't care, the nurses are too cold, with their attitudes in a business where there should be nothing but love. We hear about the complaints concerning the horrible food, and most of all, the high cost of continued care and medicine for a hospital visit that turned into a monthly stay, with no resolve of a medical emergency. Now, on Investigative Report, I have never had the pleasure of interviewing a family member on a subject so close to home. But for this episode, I'll be interviewing my wife of 35 years. Now, this is a woman who has encouraged me in the fight for men's rights and the continuance of this channel. Without her, I would have stopped a long time ago. Now, in full disclosure, over the last 5 years, she has been battling stage 4 cancer, and she was admitted to the hospital on the 8th of June 2022. But she had a tumor in her uterus that was non-related to her cancer. This tumor grew within about a month's time to the size of a 9-month pregnancy. That's right, to a 9-month pregnancy size. Upon arrival to the emergency room, she was desperate for life-saving surgery, and this is where our interview begins. So first off, I'd like to welcome her. Now, a lot of things I want to talk to you about the same way that other people who go to hospital, whether it's the patient or the loved one, because I visited her a lot of times in hospital up there, and I had concerns about it every day. I didn't think that they cared. Typically, when you go to the hospital waiting room, you're waiting 4 hours, maybe 6 hours at the max. They have people in the hallways and gurneys lining the hallways. Now, also for disclosure, since she's been fighting her cancer for the last 5 years, she's had to do several chemo treatments twice a month. So on the days that she went for the surgery, she was supposed to be going to chemo instead, but we changed our mind in order to save her life. Long story short, once she got a room finally to get the surgery, it never happened immediately like it was supposed to. Then they told her that it was going to happen in about 3 days. The day that the surgery was supposed to happen, they came to her and let her know that she had COVID. Now this is odd because she checked in the hospital and she went to a particular floor as a waiting period that ended up for a long time, and then she moved to the floor for the surgery, and on that floor she contracted COVID. So immediately I was tested and I was negative. So the hospital explains to us that she got COVID in the hospital. Now the bad thing about this is that it delayed her surgery. It stopped her surgery.
Yeah.
So if you're going through this at home and you have family, you know what I'm talking about. So the AMA's recommendation for when a patient receives COVID prior to an operation is that she has to wait now for 20 days. 20 days.
Yeah.
So, all right, sweetheart. So when you first got to the hospital, tell me how you felt when you wanted to check in. Did you think you were going to get the surgery in time?
No. When I first got to the hospital, the first thing they said was, we need to test you for COVID. The first thing they do is test you for COVID before they let you into the emergency room. So I was tested, so that came back negative.
So you didn't have COVID then?
No, they wouldn't let you in. And then they test you for, they have people going around the room searching for people they can do blood pressure tests and stuff. So my blood pressure was a little high, so I got in a lot quicker than some of the other ones.
Which is good. That moved her quicker in the emergency room.
I got to bed quick.
Quicker than somebody else would because her blood pressure was high at the time. I have her medical records in front of me right here. Go ahead.
And then they put me in this little room and said that I needed to get immediate surgery because the tumor was pressing on all of my vital organs, so I couldn't breathe.
Now, I didn't mean to cut you off. Now imagine this. The tumor is pressing on all the vital organs, so her stomach is swollen to a 9-month pregnancy size of tumor. And so it's pressing on all vital organs. They promise her, they get her hopes up that she's going to go to surgery then.
Yeah. Then they gave me another COVID test.
Okay.
Because I can't leave the ER and go to another floor without a COVID test. That test came back negative.
Negative. Twice.
So, yeah. So I ended up on another floor, on the 14th floor. I was supposed to get surgery on that floor. Within 3 days, I was supposed to get surgery. I don't know what happened at that point, but I got moved from the 14th floor. I had to have a COVID test to move from the 14th floor to another floor.
So a woman's wing where they operate on pregnant women and uterine surgeries. Go ahead.
So in order to move to the 14th floor, move from that floor, I had to be tested again for COVID. I didn't have COVID. It was negative. The day that I was supposed to get surgery, that Friday, they came and told me I had COVID. And I was like, well, how did I get COVID? You know, the questions didn't begin because, first of all, I didn't feel like I was being taken care of to start with. I already couldn't eat because the pressure on my organs.
Yeah, what she's talking about is that, like I said, you could imagine a 9-month pregnancy, but not a baby, a tumor. So it's very little that she could eat because the stomach size has diminished. And like she said, she felt that she was not taken care of because I went to the hospital with her. The hospital system has moved to a system where you used to see your medical doctor, now to where you see a revolving group of nurses. So they put her in a bed. A nurse comes in, writes her name on the chart, says, I'm your nurse for the day, my name is whatever. Now this woman may not see her again.
They won't.
And if you have somebody who's in the hospital right now, you know that they've told you that they pressed the button for a nurse.
And nobody showed up.
For pain medication. For a glass of water.
Everybody showed up.
And hospital beds are anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000 to $15,000 per day. There's no hotel in America, even Club Med, that it costs that much per day to be treated that way. So that's why we're doing this investigative report, because I want to record this so if something should happen to her, that hospital system will have a problem with me. But go ahead, tell us how you felt. How did they take care of you?
Well, they come in at 1 o'clock in the morning and they poke you around with needles. They're not even together on which way they're going to do the needles.
How many times a day did they poke you with needles?
I got poked in with probably about 4 times a day.
Now they do this to make sure that they know what level that your blood is in, your pulmonary system, that sort of thing. And if you guys can't hear as much, it's because she has a raspy voice from the medication, and it's hard to breathe, so she's coughing. That's why we allow a little bit of anonymity. Go ahead, tell them what you do.
And so every morning about 1 o'clock, they come in and someone, no matter who, will draw blood from me. And then they can't decide whether they're going to draw blood from my port or from my arm. So I bruised all over because for some reason they decided that they were going to take it from my arm and not from my port.
Okay, she said port. Like I said, if you have some loved ones in the hospital, you would have complaints where they took blood from the arm, or if you've been to the hospital where it causes a bruise, or they send some young person there right out of med school or nursing school, and they're not good at putting a needle in, and it causes massive bleeding. But she says a port. Now she has a port. That's if you have cancer that you can get direct chemo, and it goes right above this part of your body. Maybe the opposite side for some people. But it delivers the chemotherapy drug to your system, so they could actually draw blood from that port system. It's a permanent system.
And they also want to draw blood from there because when I go into surgery, they're going to be operating from that port, not from my arms, wherever they were taking it from. And the next, they would come in about 3 and take my vitals, which is the blood pressure, your oxygen, and different things like that. For me, it was more like my oxygen and my breathing, how I could breathe on my own.
Now, at first they told you there's nothing they can do for you. Right?
They kept.
So they went back and forth between there's nothing we could do for you, I think there's something we could do for you, we definitely can do this surgery. So at the point of we definitely do the surgery, it got strung out each day. So she sat in the hospital from the 8th of June
to the 22nd.
To about the 22nd of June when she was released. Now she's waiting to go back 10 days.
Yeah.
She has to wait 10 more days until they consider that the COVID has passed, even though she's been given antibiotics. When they consider that has passed, then they can set her up for surgery if she makes it. So if you have a loved one the same way, whether they have COVID or not, if there's a stalling in the surgery, if they say whether they think the insurance will cover it, so people are dying, waiting to be healed. Now tell me about how you felt the nurses took care of you in that hospital. That's a laugh, for sure.
Every day, someone would come in and write their name on the board. There was a nurse, and then there was a tech. There was 2 different nurses. A nurse is your RN, your registered nurse. Your tech is the person who comes in, and they're the ones who, they're the ones who come in, take your vital signs, make sure you're comfortable and stuff like that. Every day, someone would come in, they'd write their name on the board, and I won't see them again at 7 p.m. or 2 p.m. whenever they switch shifts. And the only reason why they came in to switch shifts is because they want to make sure that their paperwork is correct. Not because they took care of me the whole time. Because before Charles would show up, they would always leave me laying there.
Yeah, they would let her languish, even though they were supposed to take care of her. Now, when a patient has COVID, they have COVID protocols where they have to fully dress up. It's not as difficult as it was before. It's just a mask and a slight gown on top of a gown. But they were supposed to give you like a sponge bath, bring you food,
walk you around,
that sort of thing. So these nurses weren't even coming in there before the hospital gave her COVID.
Yeah.
Like I said, they put you in a bed, just like they did your loved ones, and they let you languish.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people don't know that you can actually report this to the government when you're mistreated this way. And so I'm going to make sure I move towards that, not just as making this video to investigate the matter, but I'm not the kind of person that lets that stuff go. So, like she said, every day that I would come there, I would wash her down, give her a sponge bath, or shower, or make sure that she got what she needed, or changed her linen, even though that was their job.
That was their job.
And because you love your family member, I'm not paid a salary to do that. They can't even do it. Like a sergeant once told me in the Army, some people wouldn't do the job right if that was their only job to do it right. And those people did not do that. Were you satisfied with your care?
I was never ever satisfied, because how can you be satisfied when you can't get what you need? And if you're trying to get what you need and you can't get that bell to work, you're pressing that bell, and next thing you know, you're pressing the pain bell, and then you got the nurse's bell, and you got all these bells, but nobody's coming.
So if you visited the hospital before, if you have a loved one in the hospital, she's talking about the device you can press for the nurse if you feel you're in pain, or the pain button. Now, that button should have somebody come to you immediately. You could be in pain, you could be dying. How long would you say it took the average time for them to come after you pressed the bell?
Oh, God. Let me see. Probably about 20 minutes.
About 20 minutes. 20 minutes. I know this is not legal in the United States, but from after you press the call button, someone's loved one can die waiting 20 minutes. There's times when I called her, or she talked to me, she says she pressed the pain button. I could just about go up to the hospital before somebody would walk in to answer the call button.
There was times Charles came to visit me, and that was the only time they ever came in.
Yeah, to cover their butt, they would always come in when I came in.
Yeah.
Or the nurses would come in once the doctor came in.
Yeah, and said how great things were.
So they would not be at fault.
But they never cared for me. And if you have a loved one who's laying there, you have to let them know.
Yeah, my mom actually died in the hospital many years ago. But I remember talking to her the night before she died. She said, "Charles, they're trying to kill me."
Yeah.
And to this day, I believe that she was right.
She was right.
So if you do have somebody who's going to the hospital, make sure that you visit them. Make sure that you find out if they're being treated correctly. Yeah. Because in a lot of sense, the hospital is warehousing people.
Yeah.
They put them in a bed, and they warehouse them either to surgery, or to they drain down the insurance and they release them back out into the world with no care whatsoever.
Which they said was bad in the first place.
Yeah.
They said it was bad. You didn't. You just coming in for the surgery that you needed.
Yeah, we're talking about a surgery. We're not talking about a bandage wound. We're talking about critical surgery to save your life. So even as you see this program, we're still waiting for to get her that critical surgery to save her life.
Yeah.
For Investigative Report, this is Charles. I thank you guys for sitting with us today. Tell us what you think. Do you have a loved one in the hospital? Are you in the hospital right now? Are you being cared for? Or are you being charged for laying there? We'll see you again next time.